Well, folks, Andy Analog here, and with me, as always, the voice of reason in this crazy world, Betty Betamax.
You got that right, Andy.
You know, Betty, sometimes I feel like we're the last ones left who remember what it means to actually live in the real world. You know,
I hear you, Andy.
to build something with your own two hands, to have a face-to-face conversation without an emoji in sight.
It's a dying art, Andy, a dying art.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It really is.
And speaking of trends that seem determined to drag us further down this digital rabbit hole,
Oh boy, here we go.
we need to talk about Meta's latest and so-called greatest Llama 3.3,
Yep, another one.
a new AI model that they claim is the next big thing. But let's be honest, folks, haven't we heard that one before?
They're like a broken record, Andy, churning out these so-called advancements every other week.
It's like they think we're all just going to line up and bow down to our new AI overlords.
Don't give them any ideas, Andy.
Well, this Llama 3.3 is a perfect example. They're bragging about how efficient it is, how it can do more with less.
More with less. Isn't that always the sales pitch?
Apparently, it outperforms Llama 3.1, even though it has way fewer parameters.
Parameters, Andy, are essentially the building blocks of an AI model's neural network. Think of them as the connections that allow the AI to learn and process information.
So you're telling me they've managed to create a machine that can supposedly outperform its predecessor with fewer brain cells?
That's exactly what I'm saying, Andy. It's like they're actively trying to dumb down the very concept of intelligence.
It's like they think fewer moving parts somehow equates to greater intelligence. What's next? An AI that can only solve problems by staring blankly at a wall.
Don't give them any ideas, Andy. But you raise a valid point. This obsession with efficiency seems to have blinded them to the fact that sometimes a little inefficiency, a little human touch can actually be a good thing.
Now you're talking, Betty, that's what separates us from the machines after all.
Exactly, Andy. We're not robots. We're human beings with hearts and souls and minds capable of things that no machine will ever replicate.
You tell them, Betty, but they're not just stopping at efficiency. Oh no, they're also crowing about how this Llama 3.3 is breaking all sorts of performance records.
Oh, really? Wouldn't want to miss that.
They're even claiming it surpasses Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro in some areas.
As if any of us should be surprised another day, another AI benchmark shatter.
It's all smoke and mirrors, Betty. A distraction from the real issues at hand. They want us to be so impressed by these artificial feats of strength that we don't notice how they're slowly chipping away at what it means to be human.
Precisely, Andy. They dangle these shiny technological trinkets in front of us, hoping we'll be so captivated that we won't question the implications.
And speaking as implications, we can't forget about the elephant in the room, or should I say the llama in the data center.
Oh, here it comes.
They're making Llama 3.3 open source.
Open source, the supposed panacea for all technological ills?
It's utter madness. They're essentially giving the keys to the kingdom to anyone with a computer and an internet connection who knows what kind of mischief, intentional or otherwise, could arise from this reckless decision.
They say it's about collaboration and transparency, but who are they kidding?
It's like they're trying to prove the point that humans can't be trusted with technology.
And let's not forget that the community they claim will benefit from this open source utopia is largely composed of individuals who buy into the same techno-utopian fantasy that got us into this mess in the first place.
The ones who believe that algorithms will solve all our problems while conveniently ignoring the human cost of such blind faith.
It's a dangerous game they're playing, Andy. A dangerous game.
It's a recipe for disaster, Betty. But of course they don't want to talk about that.
Of course not.
They'd rather focus on the supposed benefits of all this AI progress benefits, like enhanced virtual reality experiences.
An enhanced virtual reality. You mean escaping from reality?
That's exactly what I mean. They're using Llama 3.3 to create these hyper-realistic virtual worlds where you can escape the drudgery of real life.
Escape reality? Why bother? They're doing a perfectly good job of dismantling it in the real world.
It's like they're trying to engineer a society of digital zombies, plugged into their devices, 24/7, completely detached from nature, from human connection, for the very essence of what makes life worth living.
And they call it progress.
A sad state of affairs, Betty. It's a sad state of affairs. But hey, at least they're trying to make this whole AI thing environmentally friendly, right? They're talking about reduced energy consumption, green data centers, all that jazz.
Oh, please don't even get me started on their greenwashing tactics.
What do you mean?
They're creating these massive, power-hungry AI systems that are undoubtedly contributing to the very environmental problems they claim to be solving. It's the ultimate hypocrisy, Andy, the ultimate hypocrisy.
No, Betty, sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in an episode of The Twilight Zone. The world has gone completely mad and everyone seems to be cheering for their own demise.
I know what you mean, Andy. It's like we're living in some kind of dystopian science fiction novel, but it's not fiction anymore, is it?
It's our reality, and it's getting worse by the day.
Or we're on a slippery slope, Andy, and I'm not sure where it ends.
Me neither, Betty. Me neither. But we're not giving up just yet, are we?
Absolutely not, Andy. We had a duty to speak out against this technological tyranny, to remind people of the beauty and value of the real world of human connection, of the simple joys of a life lived offline.
Well said, Betty, folks. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of this Llama 3.3 debacle. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into the insidious ways this technology is threatening our values, our livelihoods, and our very humanity.
It's ironic they call this progress.
Surrender to what, Betty? To some silicon overlords?
It's not just about control, Andy. It's about erasing the very things that make us human, our creativity, our ingenuity, our ability to solve problems not with brute computational force, but with intuition, with experience, with a touch of good old-fashioned common sense.
Those are qualities that these AI programs will never replicate, no matter how many parameters they cram into their neural networks.
They can mimic, they can analyze, they can even generate text or images that resemble human creation.
But they can never truly understand the emotions, the experiences, the shared history that informs our art, our music, our literature.
And yet they're trying to convince us that this artificial intelligence is somehow superior to our own.
They're dangling these shiny new toys in front of us like self-driving cars and AI-powered assistants and telling us it's for our own good.
It'll make your life easier, they say. It'll free up your time so you can pursue your passions.
But what they don't tell you is that those passions will become increasingly meaningless in a world where human skills and craftsmanship are no longer valued.
They want us to become dependent on these machines, to surrender our autonomy, our independence, our very ability to think for ourselves.
And what happens when those machines inevitably malfunction, or when they're used for malicious purposes by those who control them?
Have we learned nothing from history? Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
It's a slippery slope, Betty, and we're already halfway down it.
Yeah.
Just look at how many jobs have been lost to automation in recent years.
Factory workers, truck drivers, even accountants and lawyers are being replaced by algorithms.
And the worst part is, many people are celebrating this displacement.
They see it as a sign of progress, of efficiency.
But what they fail to realize is that it's creating a society of haves and have-nots, where a small elite controls the technology while the rest of us are left scrambling for scraps.
It's a recipe for social unrest, Andy, when people feel like they've been left behind, like their skills and their labor are no longer valued. They're going to lash out.
And who can blame them? We're being told that our contributions are no longer needed, that machines can do it all better, faster, and cheaper.
It's a dehumanizing message, one that strikes at the very core of our sense of self-worth.
And what's the solution, Betty? How do we stop this technological train wreck before it's too late?
It starts with awareness, Andy. We need to wake people up to the dangers of this unchecked technological advancement.
We need to remind them of the value of human skills of craftsmanship, of the simple joys of a life lived in the real world.
We need to reconnect with our communities, with our families, with the traditions that have sustained us for generations.
We need to rediscover the meaning of hard work, of self-reliance, of taking pride in a job well done.
And most importantly, Andy, we need to reject the seductive lie that technology will solve all our problems.
Technology is a tool, nothing more. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for evil.
It's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
We can choose to become slaves to our devices, or we can choose to master them. We can choose to surrender to the algorithms, or we can choose to reclaim our humanity.
It's a choice we must make, Andy, not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
You know, folks, we spent the last 2 segments painting a pretty bleak picture of the future. A future where AI, like this Llama 3.3, runs rampant, eroding our values.
Leaving us stranded in a digital wasteland.
But it doesn't have to be that way, does it?
No, it doesn't, Andy. There's still time to change course. But it's going to take a conscious effort, a collective awakening to the dangers of this unchecked technological obsession.
So what can we do, Betty? What practical steps can we take to reclaim our humanity in this increasingly artificial world?
Well, for starters, we need to start valuing human skills again. Craftsmanship, artistry, critical thinking, problem solving. These are the qualities that have always set us apart from machines.
You know, it's funny you should mention craftsmanship. I was reading an article the other day about this group of woodworkers who are bucking the trend of automation.
Really?
Yeah, they're using traditional hand tools and techniques to create furniture that's not only beautiful, but built to last.
That's heartening to hear, Andy. It's a reminder that there's still a demand for quality, for authenticity, for things made with care and skill. And it's not just about woodworking. We need to support all forms of human endeavor that prioritize quality over quantity, craftsmanship over automation.
Absolutely. We need to patronize local businesses, buy handmade goods, and encourage our children to learn practical skills. Let's face it, folks, a world where everyone is coding and no one can fix a leaky faucet is a recipe for disaster.
You're telling me, Andy, we need a balance. And that balance starts with education. We need to teach our children the value of critical thinking, of questioning the information they're bombarded with online. We need to instill in them a sense of skepticism towards the promises of technology and a deep appreciation for the real world.
We also need to be mindful of the time we spend online. It's so easy to get sucked into that endless scroll of social media, the constant barrage of notifications, the dopamine rush of likes and shares.
Oh, yeah.
But all of that virtual stimulation is coming at a cost. It's eroding our attention spans, our ability to focus, our capacity for deep thought and meaningful conversation.
It's isolating us from each other, Andy. We're becoming so accustomed to interacting with people through screens that we're forgetting how to connect on a human level.
And that lack of connection is leading to what? Loneliness, depression, a general sense of unease.
Exactly, Andy. We're losing our ability to connect with each other on a deeper level.
So what's the antidote, Betty? How do we break free from this digital addiction?
It starts with setting boundaries. Andy, make a conscious effort to limit your screen time, to unplug from your devices, and spend time in nature to engage in activities that nourish your soul rather than drain it.
I've been trying to do that myself lately. I've started taking walks in the park, reading physical books, and having face-to-face conversations with friends and family.
Good for you, Andy.
And you know what? It feels good. It feels real.
That's the key, Andy, reconnecting with the real world, with the things that truly matter. It's about finding joy in the simple things, in the beauty of nature, in the warmth of human connection.
Folks, it's time to wake up from this digital slumber. It's time to reclaim our humanity, to rediscover the things that make life worth living. Don't let the algorithms dictate your future. Choose to live a life of purpose, of meaning, of connection.
It all comes down to choice. Andy, remember, the future is not predetermined. It's a choice we make every single day.
Choose wisely, folks. And on that note, we're going to sign off. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Llama 3.3 and its implications for humanity. We hope it's given you some food for thought and perhaps even a little bit of hope. Remember, it's not too late to change course. The power is in your hands.